Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you will be checking this out. Welcome to PRMD with Martell Stevens. I'm here, man. I'm excited. I can't lie to you. I have been making it my business to make sure that we are making sure that we put out quality interviews for you all to watch quality content. And today we have a great guest. The QB whisperer, the QB trainer, the QB guru is here today. And we'll be talking to QB coach Baylin Trujillo. I hope I said the last name right, but if I did not, he will correct that for me in a second. What's up, man?
How we doing? Yeah, it's Trujillo. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, man. I messed that all up.
That's my business is literally called BTru, so we don't have to worry about the craziness of my last name. It just goes straight to true. So we're gonna
do it. Okay. I appreciate you, man. So, first off, I want to say I'm glad that you took the time to come on here, for one. And two, I want you to take some time and just tell the people who you are so they can know who you are.
Yeah, man, I think you did a really good job of that. I pretty much is known for quarterback training. That's what I do full time. Travel all across America, put on big quarterback camps with other former pro and college quarterbacks. And that's what I do full time, man. I'm every kid that I train. I'm their marketer, their recruiter, their quarterback trainer, their mentor. I try to do everything just besides the quarterback training aspect of my business. And I think it's valuable to pour into the kids' lives just outside of the football field, and it's bigger than that. So I take pride in that. I think that's what really separates myself from a lot of these trainers out here in the world is, I'm doing everything outside of the field, and that's what I take most pride in. And I believe building good Christian young men is really my calling, and I'm using quarterback training and football to live out my purpose.
I respect that, man. So let's get back to, let's start with some of your story. Like, how did you get to where you are now, and just tell a little bit about your life.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I got into quarterback training, back in 2015, January of 2015. I graduated college in 2014 in December with a sports business management degree from Webber International University. And cum laude. So I really took my college serious, especially in my field of work. And I learned how to market. I learned how to, put on events. I learned how to, put on commercials and social media and stuff through that process. And then watching my mom, she was the vice president of HSN, Home Shopping Network, also the vice president of Orlando Magic. So watching my mom really be around athletes as well as products and selling them and trying to market things, to put them on a big platform, that really helped me in how I started my quarterback training business through social media, YouTube, and the Twitter had come out, Instagram. And so that's really how I became on the scene really fast is I knew how to use social media and marketing what I was doing with my training business to really set me apart from, again, kind of the old heads in this business where they didn't really understand technology and the use of YouTube and stuff like that to promote their business. And I knew how to do that. So I blew up pretty fast. I also am big on networking. So reaching out to other people in my profession, whether they're former players in the NFL and college, and building that network. I was able to do that when I was coaching the Elite 11 for 6 years. And every time I'd coach in a camp, I'd, connect with this quarterback trainer or that quarterback trainer or this former quarterback and stuff. So building that network and surrounding myself with elite guys that help mold me and how I coach and train the position, as well as when I put on camps, able to market them as well and build this thing together. I think that was really important for me. A lot of these guys out here, they're very ego-centered, and it's really about them, and it's about who they train and what they do. And if someone else trains their guy, they get all, butt hurt about it and stuff. I'm not like that. At the end of the day, kids can't train with one trainer all the time. If there are kids that bounce around and stuff like that, it's because schedules align differently. But I know what I bring to the table. When they come see me, they know, they as in the quarterbacks and the parents that see what I do, they know what they're getting out of me. And, this is no funny business, and I treat it that way. And I take pride in my work. But yeah, just doing that and networking is really, put me in a kind of a upper platform, I think, especially social media wise. But really my passion came from when I was playing. Growing up, I didn't have a quarterback trainer. My dad was my trainer, safety in college at UCF. And so I knew, watching him and how he treated me as a kid growing up, I knew what it took to be a Division I athlete and to excel in different sports. I played football, basketball, and baseball growing up, starting at the age of 4. And my dad, never let me play the PlayStation hardly, never really let me go out with my friends. Couldn't spend the night at other people's houses because he couldn't watch me. So like I was really, my life was really detailed in how I was risen. And so, working out every day, coming home, then going out to the basketball courts for an hour and shooting hoops, then throwing the football for an hour with my dad, and then ending in the batting cages. That was pretty much my life all the way through my senior year of high school. And so when I was able to get those scholarship offers and have the opportunity to go to University of South Florida, USF, go Bulls, I got thinking, hey, all I needed was a strong arm and my work ethic, and I was going to be successful. And that was the biggest lie ever. I get in there in the first week of me, being acclimated to the program. They threw me up on the whiteboard in the quarterback meeting and said, hey, draw this coverage with this protection, with this concept. How are you going to beat it? What's your progression in this and what's your read? And they're using terminology I'd never learned or heard of. And so I was kind of humbled in that moment. I remember sitting back down at the table in the quarterback room with the other 4 quarterbacks that were watching me, including the quarterback coach, Coach Peter Boss, which he took a chance on me, which I love that guy to this day at USF. But I remember sitting down thinking, hey, if I ever got the opportunity to give back to kids, because again, my passion after college or playing was going to be going into coaching. So I knew that already. So sitting down thinking, hey, whenever I get that opportunity to go into the coaching profession, I want to make sure every quarterback that I teach or I coach or I train will never have that feeling that I felt. And so that's really where my passion came for the quarterback business. And so again, once I graduated, I jumped right into it, start off with a couple clients here and there. And then it just blew up to like 30 to 40 within a year. And then I pretty much, in this Central Florida area, I feel like I took over pretty fast. Again, through the use of social media and stuff like that, really helped promote what I was teaching and how I was doing it. Now I don't do that. I really focus on more highlighting stuff. But back then I used to film all my workouts from start to finish and showing the parents around Central Florida what I'm capable of. Even though I was young, I was able to, really excel and market myself in this business. And then obviously results is what matters. If your kids aren't performing, those parents aren't coming. And so the kids that I was training were performing at high levels, even as early as ages of 7 and 8, where I started. People were starting to pay attention.
All right. I want to get to some of the guys I know that you train locally, but before we get there, I want to talk about. You said a lot about it's your calling and your purpose. Man, and I respect that, because I feel like when you are indebted, or when you're doing your purpose or fulfilling your purpose, it's a tailor-made space. And so it's easy to be successful when you are in the God-given space that God has you in, doing that work. And so salute to you on that, man. You have currently, I know Brady Hart was one of your guys that you trained, and I know Joseph and Tebow, also known as Troy Silverzon, is some guys that you train. And man, those are all quality QBs. But man, how did you get connected with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Social media. A lot of my DMs and a lot of these kids reach out to me on social media, and they see what I promote and how I, market my kids that I train. And so every kid likes that, right? They like the flashy. They like the young looking backwards hat with the glasses on. They like I would say cockiness, but to them that's what it looks like. So the kids gravitate towards that because they want to be promoted as well, and I take pride in that. And so, like I mentioned before when we started this podcast, again, I'm your marketer, I'm your recruiter, I'm your motivator, I'm your mentor, I'm obviously your trainer. And so with that, they see that in the work that I do, especially with my promotion, which a lot of these trainers don't have the time to nor want to do. And I do that. And so when these kids see me on social media, what do? They want to see what it's about, especially a quarterback. And my kids are getting offers. And so they're like, well, we want to obviously live the dream of playing college football. So let's see what this guy's about. And then once they come to me, it's like I told you, they know what the work is. They know what time it is. So they usually stick around for quite some time. And, especially in that area, Brady Hart, even before Brady Hart, Blake Boda, who went to Cocoa, I trained, and then Trayvon Green, who was at Rockledge. I made an impression in that area pretty early on. And so now you're starting to see the trickle-down effect in the Brevard and Broward County, down the pipeline on the East Coast start coming up to Orlando to train. And so it's really cool to see that. But, man, I've trained over 35 Division I athletes and quarterbacks. I've trained over, I would say maybe even I think it's closer to 170. I stopped count because at this point it's not even, I used to think it was cool. Now it's just part of what my job entitles. And so I've trained a lot of guys who are successful, which is it's God's blessing for my business. But like you said, Brady Hart was top 10 in America. Now at A&M, I got Darion Coleman, who's literally the most trending quarterback in America right now. He's committed to Miami and Jones. And then Noah Grubbs blew up pretty fast before Brady and Darion did. He's now committed to Notre Dame. And so he's the most prolific passer ever in our city. He has every statistical record over anybody that's ever even touched a football in Orlando, and he's still only a junior.
Shout out to those guys, man.
Yeah, I'm actually watching them right now. They're playing in OT7 in Dallas right now, and they're both lighting it up. And Noah just won his game, and Darion's lighting it up right now. So it's just really cool to see that. And, again, supporting my guys as much as I can, no matter what I'm doing and where I'm at. I'm always about them. So it's just been a blessing, man, and God is good. And once you know your calling and your purpose, I don't really have a job title. I just do what I do best, and God's given me this gift, and I'm just doing it the best of my abilities.
I saw something where you said that you don't let some schools offer your guys unless they can commit to those offers. And I support that because a lot of times I feel like there's a lot of offers being thrown or the word offer being thrown around for kids, and kids sometimes get caught up in what I like to call pocket watching. And so they see somebody getting all these offers and assume that it's one thing and sometimes it's not. Can you give clarity on offers and how that thing actually works?
Yeah, there's 3 different types of offers. There's committable offers, which is the hardest thing to get, but that obviously means, hey, this program has you in a top tier on their board, and they're willing to take a chance on you. And if you're ready to commit at any point, you're able to do that and literally make it known on social media, obviously calling the coaches. They shut down the recruitment. Those are the hardest offers to get, but that is called a committable offer. Then there's the interest offer, where these coaches, which you see a lot of, that's probably the most recognizable offer. And that's when, hey, we're interested in you. We want to get to know you a little bit more. You have an offer which shows you that I'm interested, which means you're going to, in return, come to camp. They want you really to be on their campus to show interest, but that doesn't mean you can just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm committing. They're going to say, no. We gave you this offer because we're interested, but we want to see how interested you are in us, because if you don't show interest in us, then technically we don't want to give you that official offer, because schools are alluded to a certain amount of offers to give out that are official, that these kids can say, hey, I'm committed. So if they don't have that in their documentation that you can commit, technically it's not a real offer. It's just, again, an interest offer, which shows you, hey, come to my camp. And then if you do well with probably other guys they have offered in that same class and you stand out, then they would probably turn that into a, hey, you can commit at any point. You are our guy now, and they'll make that pretty clear. And then the third offer are, just your, I would say, favor offers. A lot of these coaches out here will reach out to a coach that they're really connected with and say, hey, man, just throw my guy an offer just to kind of get things rolling, knowing, it's not even committable and there's no interest there. They're just saying, hey, offer my guy so that other colleges can see this offer on social media. And then, again, that's going to spark interest in other coaches. And then they start to offer. And then, obviously, they're going to gear towards those schools, because the original school that offered was never really an offer. It was just a favor. And that's unfortunate. I see a lot of that sometimes. Especially when I first started this business, a lot of those favor offers is very sad, because, again, you're doing that for a coach because of your friendship. But then when that kid has that offer, they think they can commit, then they're sold in that program because they're like, man, that's the first school that took a chance on me, so that's really going to be my school. And then they're going to wait, and then say, hey, we're going to commit. And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, kid. Like, we're no longer interested. That's sad. But that's the name of the game. I don't do that. Like you just mentioned, I kind of cut through the fluff. I've built my relationships with a lot of these coaches that I have to the point where I'm like, hey, man, don't offer my kid unless you're serious, because at the end of the day, I don't want a kid's heart being broken because they think it's one thing and it's not. A lot of my offers come through these coaches that see my guys throw live. So that's why I know I kind of eliminate the fluff and the interest. I go right to, hey, if you like my guy and you watch him live and you offer him, obviously you want them. That's your guy.
Right.
And again, especially at the quarterback position, a lot of these kids have to understand you're not getting an offer unless these coaches see you throw. That's point blank, period. Everybody has a great highlight tape. Everybody can put 8-9 minutes together of your best throws and stuff. But at the end of the day, these coaches want to see what it looks like in person. And that is going to separate the quarterbacks as far as the real offers and the fluff. So again, I take pride in that. And I set up private, workouts at these schools. When these coaches come to Orlando, I'll say, hey, go to this school, this school, this school. These guys will go do little private workouts before even classes start, maybe at 6 a.m. in the morning or after school. They'll throw live, do a whole workout. Sometimes I'm at these workouts, and so it's structured. And I know what these coaches are looking for, and we put on a show. And that's why you see a lot of these edits on Twitter and social media with my guys getting offers because, again, I eliminate all the fluff. And the best thing about what I do and how I can really showcase that is not only do I post the conversations usually on social media, I usually put it on my stories, but whenever I post the offer on my Twitter, I actually tag the coach. You're going to see a lot of these kids when they post offers, they won't even tag the school or the coach because they want to hide for the possibility of even one of their coaches see it, then they'll tell them to take it down because it's not real, right? Whereas me, I know when these offers are real because these coaches are contacting me and they're saying, hey, we have fully extended an offer to your kid, or they'll say, hey, thanks, coach, for setting up that private. This is an offer for your kid, or they'll tell the kid in person, which is usually what happens. And then I will shout the coach out on Twitter and say, hey, man, shout out to my guy or whatever. And I'll put the tag name because, again, if you're doing it the right way, there's nothing to hide. So I pretty much don't shy away from that. Whereas you see, again, a lot of kids, when they post offers, they won't even tag the coach or the school, which means they're probably hiding something, or they got maybe a telephone call from a personnel player or even their head coach saying, hey, this coach stopped by, said they're offering you. But if a coach doesn't tell you specifically, let's be honest, it's probably not real.
Right. And I was told that the quarterback recruiting process starts way earlier than any other player on the field. Can you give more light to that process? I was told it starts sometimes 10th grade summer.
Yeah. No.
Right
so
into the 11th grade.
Yeah, so it used to be junior year, which would be sophomore year, spring would be the most important because going into your junior year, that used to be like the year for quarterbacks. But unfortunately, with how the NIL works, colleges are taking chances on quarterbacks in the portal and not necessarily high school quarterbacks. And so the recruiting has now pushed up another year. So now it's your freshman year, spring, going into your sophomore years where you will get the most attention for your recruiting. At the quarterback position. If you don't have an offer by mid-sophomore year from a high-powered D1 program, the chance of you playing at Power 4 is almost less than, I would say, 1%. Because at the end of the day, these colleges are going after portal kids who have experience in college, who understand the regimen of what it takes to be an elite quarterback and the kind of the standard and stuff like that. They don't have time to teach all this with a high school kid where it used to be that way. They develop the players, they come in, they redshirt, they learn, they develop. Maybe by their junior year, redshirt sophomore year, they're ready to step in the starting role. At that point now, it's done. With the whole NIL space now, you got to be ready to literally start once you step on campus and have that opportunity. So that's where you see these elite kids like the Brady Harts, the Darion Colemans, the Noah Grubbs, where they're top 10, top 15 in America, where they're getting those chances, and they got them their sophomore year. Because, again, these big programs like the Notre Dames, Miamis, A&Ms are going after the portal kids. So, or they're forcing these kids to reclass up, which is what we saw in Brady Hart last year. So, it's interesting. But, yeah, I would say for the parents out there, and I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you how it is. Not saying your kid's not going to play college football, but if you're not getting those offers by sophomore year going into junior year and you're not really committed by – actually, my goal for every kid that I train is you should be committed. If you're getting that type of look, going into your junior year. So that June, July, going into junior year, you should be already committed. And so if you're not having that attention at that point, I'm going to be honest, the Power Fours out there, those chances are pretty much out the window. Doesn't mean you can't go D1. There's still Ivy Leagues out there, group of fives. As far as your bigger programs, those guys know who they want, and you got to be starting your sophomore year.
Perfect. And what would you say to the young guy who maybe they don't have any offers, nobody really knows them, but they're persevering, working hard, doing all of the right things. Maybe they even have the grades. What would be some advice to you for them to potentially get that ball rolling?
Yeah, you got to get with a trainer that knows their stuff or a coach, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of those people out there that get overlooked and don't get those opportunities. So you have to be with a coach that's either pushing you at the school, which, let's be honest, the way these high school coaches are these days, they're not doing it. They're worried about 110 people on a roster, not one. So it's really hard for these old school coaches to send emails to colleges, because at the end of the day, now everything's worked through social media. And so my biggest advice, especially at quarterback, is find a trainer who has connections. Not necessarily just myself, even though I take pride in that. Just find a guy who you know that you trust that can vouch for you, because at the end of the day, a lot of these kids, what do? You see it probably all the time on Twitter. They'll send these coaches or post their highlights all day, every day, tagging all this and that. At the end of the day, every high school player is doing that. So you aren't getting looked at by that. Let's just call it a spade a spade. Every kid thinks, oh, because I sent a DM to a coach or I'm posting my highlights and I'm tagging every coach, they're going to see it, they're going to offer me. That is not true. Everybody's doing it. So you have to have an outside source that's fighting for your name, that's going to help you get that opportunity and that connection. And most of the time, it's going to be a trainer that these coaches trust, or a coach that these trainers or these coaches trust, that's going to get over that edge to get that real look to see if that opportunity is going to present itself. But at the end of the day, keep controlling what you can control. I think that's another thing is you can't control your grades. You can't control how you perform. You can't control your work ethic. You can't control how you are as a person. You can't control what you post on social media. And so those things, I say, control the controllables and let everything else play it out. I'm a big believer in faith, and so I know God has a plan for everybody. It's just, people's timings are a lot different. I had a kid just commit to D1, sign to Moorhead State, right like a week before signing day, and he had nothing going up to that point as far as Division I, and he went up on a visit. I knew the receiver coach there. We made it a done deal, and he committed on his visit. He's now playing Division I. So those are those crazy stories where you still have those opportunities to live out your dream of playing at the highest level. But I've been in this game a long time and seeing how the trending is kind of shifted with the NIL, where I kind of know the area or the timeline of where these bigger programs are coming in. But at the end of the day, offers can come in at any point. I got my offer after signing day from USF. I didn't even sign on signing day thinking I was going to Charleston Southern. They took my offer, gave it to an offensive lineman. So I didn't even sign on signing day, waited for an opportunity. And about 3 or 4 weeks after signing day, USF quarterback coach called me on my phone on the way to another visit to another school. And I took a visit to USF, fell in love, and ended up verbally committing there. And that's where I ended up playing. So, but that was back in 2010, so now obviously have shifted. But, and then again, the use of social media, you are your own brand. Just like how I market my training business, every athlete's their own marketer. The kids can post as much as they can with their training videos, what they're doing, throwing routes on air with the receivers, content. That's the only way you're really going to get in front of these college coaches, is promoting yourself as well. So I would say, do that on Twitter only, not Instagram, Facebook. None of that really matters. Twitter is the biggest thing, because there is literally college coaches that sit on Twitter all day just looking at kid stuff. Now, I just mentioned, probably people are thinking, oh, you just said don't do that. No, I said when these kids are sending direct messages to these coaches, their film, those coaches are not watching that, because everybody does. But they are going to see, if you're trending or you're on your page, you're throwing routes, they might stop and look at their timeline, might watch you right there. And then those opportunities, you just never know how that works. A DM might have, hey, come to my camp, or I want to see you throw live. You just never know those opportunities work. But that's my biggest thing. Control what you control. Post your content as much as you can, actually doing something, not just links to these guys' DMs, but actually posting on your Twitter, and then getting with a trainer that has connections, or a coach and that believes in you, and trying to, say, hey, help me out here, because I can't do it myself.
Let's shift and talk a little bit about NIL. Like, NIL is a crazy world now, and everybody's expecting some things. And I personally, and I could be wrong, I personally think that it's not for everyone. Everyone's not going to get paid the same, but I feel like we have now the pocket watching that. So they see one thing, and just elaborate on who gets what and how that kind of goes. I do know that quarterbacks are now getting top dollar, as we saw the quarterback from Tennessee. They didn't meet his expectations or something along those lines, and people kind of felt the way. But I feel like kids should be compensated. I just don't know at what level the compensations should start and stop. And so how does that work, the NIL thing?
Yeah, I think it should be regulated. I do think that players do need to get compensated for their name, image, and likeness. I can only imagine, especially with the knowledge that I have now of social media, if I was playing in this era, I'd be taking full advantage of that. And I think Nico did that. And here's where Nico went wrong. And I think that there's no issues with him negotiating his contract. I believe that if you feel like you're valued a certain way, if you want a $4 million, awesome. Tell the university, tell the coaches, hey, you're paying me $2.5 million. I'm starting in the SEC. I'm at Tennessee. I have a big brand behind my name. I want $4 million. Okay, cool. Let's negotiate. But here's where he messed up. He didn't go to practice. Now he started becoming bigger than the team. You start doing that, now you've completely lost the value and the moral and the heartbeat of the team. You're the starting quarterback, and now you're missing practice because you're not receiving or getting the toxic communication with your contract. That's embarrassing, and that's cowardly. So, and again, I don't know Nico. I've never met him. He might be one of the most stand-up guys, but based off what I'm seeing and how he just got cut from a program because you wanted money and you said, hey, I'm bigger than the team. I'm going to stop going to practice. Shame on you. That's where you messed up. You could have easily continued to go to practice. You could have easily gone through the motions like every other player that's not getting the pay that you're getting paid, and going through the grind and finish out the spring and then still have those negotiation talks and find an agreement. If not, hit the portal. But because you just stopped going to practice, I think you're going to start seeing that trend. That's where it gets kind of messy, because at the end of the day, you're there to play football, and the money is just the bonus that gets on top of your name, image, and likeness. And quarterbacks get majority of that, and that's just what it is. You are the face of the program. You get all the good stuff. You get all the bad stuff. Whenever it happens, either way, that you are the face of a program. The quarterback is, regardless of how he may feel. Now, now with how NIL works, you're going to see kids stay in college longer. I think that's more exciting because they're going to make more money in college than they will, first 3 years in the NFL. And now we're talking millions of dollars. Carson Beck, signed an outrageous deal at Miami. First, second, third round, he will never see that type of money if he didn't go to the University of Miami. Same with Cam Ward, made $4 million or whatever, $2 million, and then endorsements. You're not going to make that again in your first 1 to 3 years in the NFL. And so you maximize that by staying in college because your name, image, and likeness, you have a big fan base off a university that's going to pay money to watch you play, buy your jersey, blah, 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 blah. And so you're going to capitalize on that. I think, again, if you bring that much money in revenue to a program, I do believe you get compensated. But here's the thing. I don't think it should come from the collective. And that's crazy to say. But that's how you regulate it. It should not come from the school. If Adidas wants to sponsor you, if Coke wants to sponsor you, Powerade, Gatorade, Body Armor, endorsement deals, clothing brands, if all these businesses want to put money in you, that's where the money should be made off your name, image, and likeness. If you have a store on campus that's selling your jersey, okay, again, compensation because kids are buying your jersey because it's you. But because you're allowing the collective and the boosters to pay you money, this is where these outrageous different spectrums coming along. There's no cap on this. People are getting paid whatever they want, and they're negotiating like you saw Nico. So I think that's where the integrity of the play at college level is starting to get away. Again, your name, image, and likeness should be based off deals, brands, stuff like that. That's where the money should come in, your millions of dollars, or your hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, not from the university, because now you're going to have a locker room that's divided because now they're going to be comparing contracts and say, well, our school is paying the quarterback $4 million and they're only paying me $10,000. Why? I'm bringing just as much entertainment and fans to the stands, but yeah, this guy's getting more money because he's the quarterback or because, what XYZ, who knows, right? He's up for the Heisman or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think there should be a cap or some type of regulation because this thing is getting absolutely out of control. And you're seeing players, again, unfortunately, like Nico, hold out and say, okay, I'll just choose not to play if you're not going to pay me. Well, okay, then you can't, you have to live with the result. We cut you. Now what? Now there's sources that Oregon doesn't want him. USC now doesn't want him. Now people are like, we know who you are. You're just going to quit when things don't feel right, or you're going to expose us in media. We're not going to take a chance on you. So guess what? Now you don't get the money you want and you're not playing. So, these are the risks we're seeing. Jaden Rashada, another example. Now he's suing the University of Florida. He's now technically his fourth school. Like, at what point is this getting, it's just out of control. So, there's got to be some type of regulation. But yeah, the worst thing that players can do is obviously compare. You can't really compare. But schools have different, caps and money and opportunities. The taxes are different in states. Right. So it's just, there's so many different variables that you really can't sit there and say, hey, because he's making $250,000 and he's at the University of Miami. I'm in California and I got to make 250 where the taxes are high or whatever, and they're only giving you 100,000. So it all depends.
Right.
But at
Do
the end
you
of the
think?
day,
Do you think?
honest, these kids are getting a free education that most people will spend the rest of their life with paying for their degree, and these kids are getting it for free. So that should be part of the NIL.
Do you think that there are some kids getting bad advice? And do you think it's trickling over to the negotiation table where they're asking for more than they might actually be able to live up to expectations sometimes?
Yeah, well, then you're running the risk of not playing because of that.
Right.
If you think you're this and that, which clearly Tennessee did not value Nico at $4 million with an average season in the SEC, you're not playing. You got cut. So now what? So
right.
you thought you were worth $4 million and you're already getting paid $2.5 million, which is still outrageous, because you're upset and you're probably comparing to other SEC quarterbacks like your DJ Lagways or Jackson Darts from last year. Like, now you're setting yourself up for failure because you think you're worth more than what you probably really are, and now you're not playing. So that is happening. But at the end of the day, that's why you need experts, you need an agent, you need someone who knows the field and knows your worth, has truly evaluated you. We're starting to see a trend where a lot of these players are relying on their parents. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. Unless your parents have some type of law background, the fact that your parents are your managers or they're trying to run the negotiations, I think that's really silly, because at the end of the day, they're going to obviously see you in a different light than what probably people would actually evaluate you as, because you are their kid. So they kind of have that blinder on, like, my kid's the next biggest Heisman Trophy first round, first overall pick. We're seeing it. It's sad. It's not the case. So you got to have, people. But at the end of the day, these kids are starting to become price tags, and these agents aren't dumb either. They're in these guys' DMs like, hey, what you can offer me, I obviously you need me. So if you need me, I'm going to take advantage of it, and we're going to make money off this. And it's sad. College football has now become a professional entity, and that's where we're headed. But again, because this is happening, it's hurting the high school recruiting.
I was telling somebody, I told them one about Brady Hart. I said, we don't know what we got to actually see from Brady Hart, and we only got to see it for 3 years. I wish we could have seen. There's no telling. Well, 2 years. We only got 2 years. But I wish we could have gotten another season of that, and I think it's because we're slightly selfish a little bit, and maybe it's just me. But I tell people, like, he is a 1% example, and some of the other guys that you train are 1% examples of college football players. We're not going to really get to see this again. We don't understand how hard it is, and I think sometimes when you're close to something, you kind of minimize the value of the work being put in. And I really just don't think that people understand how hard it is to actually make it to that level and be able to compete at that level, because I heard Brady's been killing it at Texas A&M right now. Yeah,
no, you're exactly right. And even before, like I said, before even Brady Hart, Blake Boda was there, and he won, Coco's first state title. Now he's at Arkansas. And so that's two SEC quarterbacks back to back at Coco. So they've kind of got spoiled. And these are two guys that I trained that I helped set up for Coco. Blake Boda was a kid that I've been training since his freshman year. He was at Seabreeze High School, and I knew his talent was so much better than the program he was at. So he was driving literally an hour and a half every single day to Coco every morning his senior year and coming home from practice just to play on a state championship caliber team, which ultimately set him up for his life, committed to Coastal, and then I got him out of there with my relationship with Petrino, and now he's obviously at Arkansas. And then Brady Hart, same thing. He was a baseball kid growing up. He still played football, but his dad was a big-time baseball guy, and so I got him when he was going into the 8th grade, and I completely shifted and shaped his whole game and literally turned him into this freak that everybody saw, your generational talents, which he obviously already had, but fine-tuning the details of the position. And his dad would, take him everywhere I was at and really bought in for the next, I would say, 2 years until he kind of became who he was. And then, I'd still train him, but it was more of the detailed work that he was really focusing on for those 2 years. So never missing a training and traveling and doing that with me really shaped his game. But he was at Melbourne High School and was on the freshman team and didn't even do anything, and I knew the the caliber of talent he was. And I said, look, Blake's a senior. He's going to win state, which they did. And so let's bet on yourself. And kind of just the same conversation with Blake. I said, let's go to Cocoa High School right down the street and be on a bigger stage. And let's see how we can promote you and get you, the opportunities that you want. And he did that. Parents bought in. And they moved him to Cocoa, and the rest is history. Back-to-back state titles and finished top 10 in America, and now at Texas A&M. So it's a blessing to see. But yeah, I think Cocoa in that area has been blessed to see some high caliber quarterbacks. Hopefully Troy's the next one in line. He's in the lab with me right now for the last 3 months. So his game is definitely shaping into something. He's already got the size. So once he gets confident in his abilities and starts really fine-tuning the details of the position, I believe by August, which is another several months from now, I think he's going to be ready to fill in the shoes of Brady Hart and take over and be the guy for Cocoa. I think the train just continues to roll in that area, especially at Cocoa High School, and you have another 6'4", 200-pound quarterback that can throw it. So again, with Snyder's offense, really anybody can showcase that arm because he's going to throw the rock. So his job to get it to the playmakers and let them do their thing. And so it's exciting stuff. And like you said, these Noah Grubbs, Darion Colemans, Brady Harts of the world are generational talents, but they put in the work. They are with me 4 times a week. That's not – some people can't even afford that. And let me make this very clear, especially with the training, to get to that level. Money is only an issue in the absence of value. I'm going to say it one more time. Money is an issue in the absence of value. So if you're getting the value out of the money you're spent, guess what? Then you're probably going to these trainers that are elite, right? So that's why you see the Darions and the Noahs and the Bradys, because they put time in their craft. And yes, it did cost money because nothing in this life is free, right? And especially if these trainers know their worth, they wouldn't do it for free. I don't care how much you say it's for the kids. At the end of the day, it's a business. You have family. You have time that you're taking out of your day and your family, and you should know your worth. And so, yes, we all charge, different prices or whatnot, but these kids and these parents have put the time and the money into perfecting their craft. And now, guess what? On the return investment, they're getting a free education. Now with the NIL, they're making millions of dollars. So I think at the end of the day, paying $60 for an hour, 3 times, 4 times a week for 3 years, 4 years is going to come into play when you're $120,000 a year on an academic, degree, and then on top of that, getting the NIL and getting to play college football. So I don't think there's an issue there, but at the end of the day, that's what Brady did, and that's what these guys are doing, is they're spending time on their craft.
So last question. First I want to shout out Blake, shout out Troy, and all your guys, Brady as well, just because those are the home guys. But so last question. If I'm a parent with a kid and I want to come to you, is there a way to come to you, or is it you find those guys? How does that connection work as it pertains to getting you to train a kid?
Yeah, so they can just, like I said, I'm not hard to find. I'm over on social media, and that's how these kids really connect with me. They'll send me a DM, or a parent will go on my website, which I have a website, which is my first and last name.com, which you see it right here. You just go on that. You'll see how I schedule my stuff every single Sunday at 1 o'clock. I post my schedule. So if you see a time, day, and location, I will be there in the week. So parents just show up, bring your kid with the ball, water, and cleats, and we get ready to work. And so that information is on my website as far as where I'm training. The private sessions are the hour before the time posted. So these parents know that. That's a different price. But most times when you do that, you're going to go back to back, which is 2 hours of work, which is going to be great for content, obviously for the development and detail work. So, and again, every training is different. So I try to change it up so these kids don't know what to expect when they show up to see me. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. My goal is for every parent to not want to be around me. I don't want parents around me, and I don't want kids who want to be average around me. My job is to make the quarterback quit. I don't want you around me, honestly, unless you're elite. Because if I know you're sticking out through the workouts and you're going to take time and you're going to dedicate this in your life, then guess what? You're probably going to end up living your dream like Brady Hart and all these other guys. But again, only the elite kids get to do that. When I first started this business, I want everybody, hey, everybody come. I'm still going to be who I am, but I'm going to have to give you a good job, or, talk to the parents and say, look, just stay with it. But now, no, we're past that stage. I don't want to ever lie to a kid and say you're good when I know deep down he's not. So my job is to eliminate, the fluff. This is a position that I believe is definitely designed by God. I believe throwing a football is a God's gift that I'm able to just define and detail it. But it's a gift. Not everybody can play quarterback, right? They could on paper, but let's be honest, quarterback is such a skilled position. It's the most difficult and hardest position of all sports, no matter what it is. It's the most difficult position. So I believe you're born to be a quarterback, even though you can be trained to be one. But at the end of the day, I can see within the first 10, 20 minutes, if you can even throw a football, let alone understand what I'm saying in the terminology and picking it up here. Because at the end of the day, quarterbacks, they have to have this. If they can't be coachable and they can't understand the position, they're never going to be successful. I don't care how far you can throw a football, because I see a lot of great athletes just chunk a football 60, 70 yards. That doesn't make you a quarterback.
I tell people that I think that the smartest player on the football team has to be the quarterback. Yeah, that's it. That's the only way to win.
Correct. So I try to eliminate that, but if these kids stick it out and they know I'm hard, I'm not your good job coach. So these parents, they love to feel that the encouragement of good job. That's not me. You earned the good job. So if you get a good job from me, you've definitely earned that, because my job is to detail the position to where I'm trying to correct every little error that you make. So that way, when you play in the game, you are flawless. You are playing within yourself. You're reacting. You're not thinking. You're just having fun, playing what you're trained to do. Again, I know you've heard it, and most guys teach this: muscle memory. Muscle memory. That is the farthest lie I can ever tell a kid, is your muscle memory. They don't think. I want it to become who you are. You are instinctual. You are reacting because of you see it and you've trained it, and it's part of who you are. So now we're not thinking, we're playing, we're reacting. I want you to be a reactive player, not a thinking player, because if you're thinking, you're probably overthinking, and that means you're probably making mistakes. I want you to see something, you trust it, you throw it, you get it done, and we move on. That's it. That's how I train, and that's how I expect my quarterbacks to play. And when they're doing that, as you see with the Brady Harts and all these other guys, they're probably playing at a high level, and it's consistent, because now they're having fun. They're actually enjoying the game because they know it.
All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on, giving free game and all of that, man. Tell the people where they can find you so they can follow you on social media and keep up with all that you're doing.
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, BaylinTrujillo.com. You can see where I'm training every single week. Again, I post my schedule on Sundays at 1 o'clock. So just be tuned to my website to see the training opportunities. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Baylin Trujillo, or my quarterback training page on my Instagram at BTruQbTraining. And again, you can see all the content that I do with all my guys and stuff. But at the end of the day, guys, parents especially that you're listening, you got to invest in your kids. At the end of the day, they only have a short window to play this game or play the position or play sports in general. So you got to do the due diligence of taking the time out of your schedule that might be selfish or might be what you want to do. But at the end of the day, these kids, only have a short window of ever living this life or this dream. And so giving them the opportunities to be with trainers or to go out to camps or go to this school or transfer to this school or reclass, right? The little advantages that you can give these quarterbacks or these players, I think is very important, because at the end of the day, when they walk across that stage or in their last game, they put shoulder pads to the left and helmets to the right. You want to make sure that your whole entire life that you built to get to that point isn't for nothing when they say your career is done. Now it's time to move on, especially if that's their passion. So invest in your kids. Money's only an issue and in the absence of value, and let's keep working. Let's be great. And always keep God first. Always keep God first.
Always, man. I thank you for coming on again, man, and we'll be in contact with you.
No, I appreciate that. Also, last plug-in, I have Bible studies for quarterbacks, but it's really for all positions every single Monday night, unless obviously something's going on. I'm very big on communication, so you'll know when I'm on or when I'm not. But Bible study is very important. It's an hour from 7 to 8 p.m. We get online. It's a Zoom meeting for an hour. It's free. Just come in, learn about Jesus, learn about how you can shape as a Christian man and your faith. I think, again, that's the most important thing. All this stuff is great. Football is great. Being a quarterback is great. Scholarships, college, pro, blah, blah, blah is all awesome. But none of it's possible without the gift of God and the opportunities God gives us and what he's done on the cross for us. So going into Easter weekend, guys, God is good. Salvation's great. It's free. It's a gift that God gave us through the cross. Let us not forget that and ultimately give our lives to him, because that's the best decision we'll ever make. Not a college, but giving our life to Christ.
Yes, sir. And man, send me that information. I'd love to be a part of that and check you out. So send that over, man. But thank you for coming on again, and we'll be hitting you up, man.
Let's do it. God bless, guys, and take care. God bless.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm so glad we were able to get connected with Coach He is got a full body of work, man. So y'all make sure y'all link. If you're a quarterback or you have quarterback aspirations, you need to get in contact with him. But also, if you are a young man of faith, you should definitely get connected with that Bible study and grow in your faith. I definitely think that's important for those that desire to grow in their faith and just be a part of community of faith. So you get connected with Coach Baylin. But man, it's been another episode of PRMD. I am doing my best. I am doing my best to make sure that we give quality conversation and giving quality content, making sure that we connect you with the best of the best, spotlighting Brevard athletes, coaches, and connecting with people who are outside of Brevard who are absolutely putting in quality work. So it's been another episode, man. We thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, share, and invite someone else to be connected to our page. Follow PRMD on all social media platforms. And we'll see you next time.